In this video, we will present our study visit to London. We will talk about Brixley Park, the Cabin Bar Room in Whitehall, Shakespeare's Globe and Brick Lane. At the end, we will make a conversation and conclude what they all have in common, the spirit of London.
Poland started to break the Enigma code. From 1926 and forward, Poland used the mathematicians who developed bombs. They made a machine which could check the installations on the rotors that contains 26 raised to the power of 3 possibilities. The English and the Frenchmen were invited to the announcement of the breaking of Enigma in 1939. They got Enigma machines and bombs in August the same year. An Enigma department was established at Bletchley Park to help the code breakers. The English code breakers brought mathematicians to their staff like Alan Turing. Before the mathematicians, it was the philologists who broke the Enigma codes. Mistakes in the use of Enigma made by the Germans. A system in the temporary keys, repetitions, no chords in the neighbor holes in the plugboard, rotors were not placed the same place 2 days, a letter could not turn into itself, many messengers started with an, many messengers contained weather, and crypts. Gardening means that one sent an Enigma message which afterwards was passed on.
Crypts are common phrases to start a letter or message. For example, dear or to in English, or lieber or zu in German, continued by name. By using these phrases, the code breakers could identify some words from a text and then guess the code. The reason why they could break the code was that the Germans sometimes made mistakes, which gave the code breakers enough information to break the codes. The mistakes were usually made in the fields during the battles. The staff at Bletchley Park also invented machines to help them break the codes. One of the machines was the bomb, invented by Alan Turing. The bomb could find the right position of the rotors in a few minutes by using grips. The work finding the position of the rotors without the bomb would usually take over a week. The Germans changes the position of the rotors every day.
The way you can choose 3 rotors out of 5 is in 60 different ways. Each rotor has 26 letters in the German alphabet, so that's 26 to the power 3. Then there's 6 ways you can take. Then there's a way you can take 6 letters out of the alphabet out, because the Germans only used 10 different wires. And that's 26 factorial divided by 6 factorial times 20 factorial. And lastly, the way you can plug in 10 wires is in 20 factorial divided by 2 to the power 10 times 10 factorial. That leaves you with a total of 1.6 times 10 to the power 20 possible ways of arranging the entire machine. Churchill War Rooms is a museum comprised of 2 somewhat connected branches. First the Cabinet War Rooms, and then a specific museum about Churchill and his entire life. Cabinet War Rooms follow you through an entire underground bunker in which Churchill spent most of his wartime, located underneath the new public office in central London. In the bunker, offices and conference rooms were built in which important war plans could be discussed and eventually signed. The war rooms also had chambers for soldiers, nurses, and other important people, but only had one real toilet which was only allowed to be used by the Prime Minister himself. The war rooms had transmitters and writers to send them coded messages and receive them in order to safely communicate with war fronts all around Europe and in the United Kingdom, and they used an Enigma-like machine called Type X. In the Churchill Museum, you'll get to know about most of Churchill's life, not only during his political era. The room itself is divided into 4 sections, in which you explore his political life, childhood, romance and death. In the center there's a very long interactive touchscreen in which all important dates throughout Churchill's life is presented. Overall, the museum is very dedicated towards Churchill. It's almost like a monument for him.
In 1599, the Globe Theatre was built. It was financed by a group of actors and instructors named the Lord Chamberlain's Men. The primary financing was given by Richard and Cuthbert Burbage. The Globe was also primarily built by timber from Richard and Cuthbert's father James's theatre. That theatre was named the Theatre. In 1613, the Globe was burned down due to a cannon which was fired from the top of the building. This ignited the thatched roof. The whole theatre burned down in less than 2 hours. In 1614, a second Globe was built. This was to close in 1642 due to some rules by the aristocracy that leaded this part of London, who wanted to shut down all theatres. And due to the spirit of London and the fact that they never quit, they made a third Globe, 230 meters from where the second Globe stood. This theatre is now used to perform Shakespeare's plays in a very authentic way. It is funny that it's called Shakespeare's Globe, because actually he only owned 12% of the original Globe, and ended up only owning 7% after selling a bit of his part. But of course, it is his plays being played, so that's why it's called Shakespeare's Globe.
Brick Lane is a street in Bangladesh town. There are many immigrants on the street. There are also people from more than one ethnicity. There are Asians, black people and Pakistan, but mostly people from Bangladesh. Most of the stores are also owned by immigrants and they mostly sell greasy food and scarf. This street is also a really poor street. You can see it when you look at the old houses and the dirty streets and how the people are dressed.
Many of the houses in Brick Lane are built with really dark bricks, and they are built in several floors, a bit like the great houses in the rich part of London. But here a family doesn't own the whole house, but maybe just one floor. As far as we could see, it was only apartments and no big villas with gardens. We saw one school, which was a Christian school, and one church. The school, which lay on Brick Lane, was really small and in bad shape. It was clear that it wasn't the richest children of London who went to school here. If you walked 5 minutes away from Brick Lane, you could see a more modern part of London. Many people wear suits and ties, and the air is more clean than in Brick Lane.
If we compare every single thing we have seen, we can conclude that the people of London never surrendered. First of all, they broke the Enigma Code. They kept up their work even though there was a war going on. London was bombed from outside but reacted like nothing were happening. Every day 10,000 people worked hard. The group of 10,000 people was split into 3 groups who each worked 8 hours per day. The Brick Lane neighborhood consisted primarily of Bangladeshi. This is fighters who never surrender. Fighters who is having a wish of living in a place with better terms and conditions. Bangladesh is one of the poorest places in the world. Therefore, many of the Bangladeshis moved to other places with a hope of being able to find better opportunities. Churchill was a very important man during the World War II. His leadership, which was expressed in noble speeches and constant personal activity, told exactly what Britain needed to hear to survive through the years before the United States entered the war. Churchill kept up the hope when British and American allies fought against the axis of Germany, Italy and Japan.